You are a healthy amount of honest.
I'm passionate about this game.
Passionate. That's a great word for it. Passionate is such a great word. All right. Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against the Live Fleshable Call-In Show. I'm joined by my constant co-host, Kevin Smurf Murphy. Kevin, what's up?
We're back from Amsterdam.
Tell me about Amsterdam. You went to Amsterdam. Just briefly.
Yeah. Actually, slightly... Nope, exactly about the same time that I had planned to, because my flight landed there earlier than I expected because of Delta, and then left earlier than planned because of the first one in Delta, because I had to change airports. That's where really I started from.
Weirdly interesting. It's rare that people are... it's so rare for people to be like,
getting everywhere. Yeah, everyone is getting everywhere later except for me.
Massive IT outage across the entire world, and Kevin's like, "Huh? It turns out I actually, I actually get to get on these flights a little earlier." That's weird. Were the flights worse in any way? Like, I don't know, you got worse tickets because of it or something silly? Like, was there a bad downside to this?
I mean, I didn't get to choose my seat.
Fair.
So I ended up with aisle seats for most of it. Which
not ideal.
No,
in my opinion, I
just horror stories.
I just don't want an aisle seat. Like, I don't care where I sit. I just don't want to sit against an aisle.
Nah, I'll just take a window seat and just.
I'll take a middle seat over an aisle seat personally.
Probably same. It depends on the people.
Well, that you can't count on, but you're right. Frick, how did Amsterdam go outside of getting there? You got 9th? What place did you get?
What?
I didn't see you in the top 8.
No, I wasn't. I was 102nd. Thanks.
That's not awful.
No, I went 8 and 6. I went 4 and 3 each day with kind of a, not like a total train wreck draft day one, but not a good draft. I went 3-1 CC day one, which I was very happy with. That's considering cool. I was not confident going into this PT at all. I hit Tree Frog Dash round 1, except they only had 1 popper.
What? Oh yeah, I heard about that. I was like, or I read about that. I was like, what the?
I was.
Isn't
very
that like
confused.
Part of the requirement for Tree Frog Dash? Is to...
No, they wanted to run their fun of nourishing. They ran it straight into my soul shield.
They ran it straight into Pro Tour.
They sure did.
They sure did.
They sure did.
You know what? I'm proud of them for their conviction, but go ahead.
Like 6 turns in, I've seen no poppers, and I'm like, they're on blue rotary ram and blue locked and loaded.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
Wow.
So I'm going to set this Angelic Wrath in my arsenal, nice and safe, and wait for a Herald of Erudition. 2 turns later, Herald of Erudition. Popper check. No popper.
Slam.
And there we go.
Holy frick.
After that point, I got Pivot. It worked. Yay.
Nice.
So that was, like, I think my most interesting game of day one.
Yeah.
What was my round 2?
I don't remember.
Why can't I remember?
I'm sure it's on Twitter.
It is on Twitter.
It
was Azalea. I, like, kind of high rolled him.
Oh. Prism can do that.
Yeah, he hit me with a Lace with Blood Rot red in the ledger, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I Halo Shariah draw Tome ALS play Blood Rot.
Oh my gosh.
That's 1 action point.
That is 1 action point. The book is an instant. Oh my gosh.
Shariah lived until the end of the game.
Wow. All right.
That was that game. Then I played Pudding Tam. I lost that game.
Makes sense.
Did I miss the Shariah draw that game? I don't think I did. He played extremely well,
Zen,
obviously.
Right? Yeah.
He was on Zen.
Yes.
He played extremely well. I think I played well, but I chose to go second, which I think is wrong in my build.
Weird.
Because I have Parables and Vestige in, and I don't have Rapture. In against Zen. I didn't have the sideboard space, I felt like. But But I think there was actually a sideboard choice that I could have made where I could have done that going second. And I don't know which is correct between those for my specific build for first or second. But I do know that I sideboarded wrong with the choice that I made.
Won your fourth game.
I did win my fourth game. It was like a mid-range fatigue Riptide, and that's fine. I play Spectra Auras, I win game.
Yeah.
It's not...
Well, does that mean they were 2-1 when you ran into them?
Yes, they were.
That's interesting.
I got paired down into Pudding.
Well,
I was 2-0 and he was 1-1.
Oh,
and it was really weird.
How many pair downs? How many pair downs happen in? Wow, you caught the pair down into Pudding.
That's into Pudding Tam. And it was really funny because we go to sit for round 4 and he's next to me. And I'm like,
sure.
Is this the table line? And then like Daniel Correas from Top 8 of LA. Was talking to him and they were talking about their game records and Pudding said that he lost a mirror. And I'm like, and I asked him, I was like, were you 1-1 when we played? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, I was 2-0. I paired down into you. And he's like, oh, okay.
That's funny.
So that was weird.
That is weird. Then your draft.
Yeah, draft. I had a weird draft. I hit the 1 of Enigma in my first round, which is just kind of like,
frick.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
He hit insanely hot. There was nothing I could do to win that game, I think. And then I played a new mirror. I drew 2 hands of all reacts.
My question, I guess, is, well, I know the games obviously matter in draft, but I'm so interested in the draft part of the draft. How do you feel about your draft?
I felt okay with it. I think I disagree with a couple of because I talked to like a couple of the people around me about like signals and stuff after it, and I disagree a little bit with some of what they thought. Because Pack One Pick One, I open it, and there isn't anything crazy, but there's like a foil red hiss. And I just take a Path Well Traveled, which is an insane Transcend card. It's the Go Again Transcend.
It's
common.
That's interesting. I don't know.
And I pass him the foil red hiss.
Yes.
To my left.
You just take that.
That's what he took.
Yeah.
And he took that as a new is open signal.
I guess so. I mean, if the chi is gone, you should know the chi is gone.
He did. And he interpreted that as I'm going into Enigma. Which I'm not 100% sold on.
I thought the one who wanted the most cheese was Zen.
It depends. There's 2 builds of Zen. Okay. There is a Transcend heavy build of Zen, and there's one that runs none.
I'm going to have to do more studying on the draft format, obviously.
Yeah. So he took this as I'm going into Enigma, and he's good to go into New. I didn't really interpret it that way. I got past pick 2 stilettos, and I took those, and I don't think I passed any red reacts or anything crazy like that. And I start cutting off the assassin cards, and I think like pick 6, I get a second stilettos, and I take them because I know if I pass them, I will put an assassin to my left.
Yes.
I don't know that I already have put an assassin to my left. I also don't know that there's a third assassin to his left.
What?
I am drafting New, and I've gotten very clear New signals because to my right is Zen.
Zen literally. Is the Phi of the format, right? Like, it's not New, right?
Essentially.
Okay.
It's not New. It's not Assassin.
All right.
People pretty much agree that New is the 2 of, generally.
Really?
It depends a little bit on the box.
Yeah.
But it is not as much like Guardian was the 2 of in heavy hitters, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the 2 of.
That's interesting.
If you have 3 and it's a good box, it can support 3, but that's less common.
It is interesting, though.
So to my left is New,
All the news.
Zen, and to my right is Zen.
So you're in the
directly across is Enigma.
You're in the right seat for New, though. Like, I mean, of the news, you're in the right seat.
I think so.
You think
the question is whether I should actually be in Enigma, and I don't think there were actually any signals for me to go into Enigma.
I think the whole thing is really weird because you typically think you want to think one of these drafts is like you're a little more spaced out than side by side, and for all the Zens to be side by side, and all the news to be side by side, and most of the Zens, but technically all the Enigmas side by side is kind of weird.
All of the one Enigma.
All of the one Enigma.
Despo was very happy with his draft.
That's interesting. Well, I want to speed run this a bit more because I don't want the whole podcast to be your Pro Tour. But your second draft
went well. I was in a Zen seat, and I was very happy with my Zen seat. And I definitely put an Enigma and a new to my left, and I got good Zen signals for my right.
Wow.
I only got one piece of equipment, but I had a very fine Zen deck. It was the Ninja headpiece, which
that's a good one.
I wheeled in pack 3. Open pack 3.
What the
searching
frick?
through? I have 0 equipment going into pack 3. Terrible idea.
Choose not to take the headpiece.
Searching through. Ooh, headpiece, dope. Stamped levels. That's a really good card in Zen. That's just a really good card in Zen.
Stamp.
But it's levels. It's also just levels, and Enlighten is a really good card. So I pick levels, and I'm like, I might eat shit for this, but I already have 2 preserve traditions for like mask stuff.
Viewers at home, is this the exact same thing as the Tarmogoyf pick? Absolutely not, but that is really funny.
No. I ship the pack around, the mask comes all the way back around. I'm like, dope.
Awesome.
We get there.
Works out. And you go, what do you go in that draft?
2-1.
That's not bad.
I looked at my deck, and I'm like, this is one of those nice little decks that it's going to make a pattern. It's either going to be loss, win, loss, or win, loss, win. And it was win, loss, win.
That's the better side of that. I guess
I won a mirror. Yeah. I lost a new, and I beat a new.
I'm personally at the point where I feel like, and I'm not going to talk about this a lot because I feel like I talk about this a lot, where people complain about how when you have a mixed format and one of the formats is draft, that draft can completely decide win or lose a person's top 8 chances. And I kind of get that, but I feel like a good player, and this is no shade to anybody, the best player should be able to have a 3-0 draft, have a 2-1 draft. And I think that's fine. I think that's a reasonable expectation to have on the winner of the tournament.
So, yes.
You can tell me wrong.
I want to have both CC sections be 5 rounds. Because it means you have slightly more leeway in your draft, because you aren't like 100% in control of your draft. You're in more control of your draft than the average player thinks.
Oh, you're in the same camp as Pro Tour 2 champion Folks, where he's like, I think we should have.
He just wants to play more games.
He just wants. To play
I think
games.
It is,
which I always find admirable. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a healthier split with the amount of variance that you get between CC games and draft games, because those draft games are more impactful. Those 6 draft games are more impactful than either set of CC games, except I guess the first. If you bomb your first 4 CC games, you're done.
Yeah, if you go 0-3, it's almost impossible at that point.
I think it's literally impossible.
0-3 is literally impossible. I know 0-2 is not PT1.
Yeah, you have to literally win out from 0-2.
Well,
yeah.
What was I going to say? Your CC. Speaking of CC games,
yeah, I ended up going 2-2 in the second set of CC. I lost to the current reigning world champ Alexander Argirio.
Awesome.
I think I low rolled.
Awesome, by
bit.
The way, that's super cool that you got to play him.
Yeah. He let a passing mirage live for 2 turns when he didn't have to.
Did he win?
Like, he did, but like he got free extra tigers in banish from stuff hitting, and he just said, these don't matter, I'll just pass. And I'm like,
were they 0 attack and you need to throw them at something?
They were 0 attack, and he could have just sent them at passing mirage.
That guy is awesome.
That was weird.
That guy is just so awesome because I feel like he like represents the, like they talk about like video games, esports or whatever, and they say stuff like the 5-man team in a dream or whatever. I feel like he represents that in Flesh and Blood a bit, where he's just like
sure
a guy and he made it to the top. He just
Yeah, kind
You
of.
just did it, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I drew a little unlucky here, but not like anything crazy that I shouldn't expect. I did ponder Light of Soul. No, that was a different game. That was Pudding, where I pondered Light of Soul.
That
When I get
sucks.
Figment of Erudition, I get the ponder token,
Yeah.
and it's Light of Soul, and I can't do shit with
How
it. Yeah.
how convenient.
Yeah. Then I played another Zen. This one, I think, I don't remember if he ran a little hot. I ran slightly below average, but not crazy. I don't think I misplayed. I know I had one misplay in the first Zen game of that day, but I don't think I had any significant misplays in this one. I beat a new where he was fairly inexperienced in the matchup. It felt like, and I did make one mistake here, which could have cost me the game, but did not. By the end of it, I think the last thing I did was I sent Red Herald to Protection for 11 with no Phantasm because I had double Pierce, double Passing out.
Dang.
And at that point, yeah,
that's abusive.
Yeah, it's a big number. And then I played a Zen for the last round, and this was Jacob Trossing, who is the Swedish national champion this year.
That's super cool.
And I played this game very well, I think. The deck ran a little hot, but I also played very well this game. And I held an Arclight Sentinel for 4 turns while he's just full blocking out. Because I just know I don't need to play it. If he's just full blocking me, it does nothing.
Yeah.
So
it just costs a lot and doesn't do anything.
Yeah. So I Wrath and Erudition, and I think I get Triumph or something as my Figment. No, I grab Erudition as my Figment. I draw 2 more off Shariah, and I send a Judgment. I got Figment of War in there somewhere because Judgment came in for 7, and he lets it hit on his pop-off turn. Because he just blocked 5 armor on Erudition. Yeah. Took his 2 extra cards, and I'm like, Judgment for 7?
Yeah.
And he's like, take 7, don't get to use my Banish Zone with my Bonds of Ancestry and Zen ability.
Forgot about
this
Judgment is such a weird card.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I think this was the only Zen matchup where I drew Herald of Judgment.
No, that is interesting. So your weekend was 8-6.
8-6.
That's not bad. Nah. It's not awful.
Nah. It is my best result at any of these 2-day invite-only events, of which I have day 2'd all of them that I have attended.
That's actually pretty good, because sometimes it can be a little some people go lose too many in day 1. Some people will. How do you describe it? They'll lose the first game, and then they'll go down to playing all the people who lost a game, and they're playing weird decks, and then they just lose to all these weird decks, get kicked out of day 1. They're not playing against the meta they expected to be, because they're playing against all the people who lost to the meta they were expecting to be. So it is actually kind of neat that you've day 2'd everything you've played. What I was gonna say is that Fresh and Buds is in chat. Shout out to Fresh and Buds. Literally talking about you earlier, and I'm not going to say what it was.
You have to go back and watch.
Yeah, go back and watch. No, actually, I guess you can't, because that's not going to be part of the recording. Anyways, first take is I am on TCG Player right now. Blaze Firemind is $240, and with shipping 99 cents.
No. Okay.
I mean, it is.
Somebody is going to buy it for that price. Yeah. I don't think anyone should. I don't think it should be that much. Is she good? Yes.
Yes.
Is she that good? I don't think so.
Who's that good right now?
Zen.
Oh, true. Actually.
So, yeah, just put this in perspective. They took 2 colors of bonds away from him in CC.
Yeah.
He still has them in Blitz.
Oh, frick. Oh, yes, he does. Of course
he still has them in Blitz.
Oh my gosh, they gave him 3 colors of a Majestic? What the frick?
Yeah, they sure did. I think Blaze is fine. I don't think she shouldn't be that expensive. I think there should be at skirmish, like somebody said this somewhere.
Yeah.
So at skirmishes, you should just be able to get a non-foil token blaze, and that's it. Just done. And we don't worry about this anymore. People want to play Blaze because they want to play Wizard. And she's fun and she's neat and nifty. But I think it's like, if you're spending more than $50 on a Blaze, like, I think you're probably spending too much.
I kind of feel that way, right? So the current thing, and the reason I bring this up, is right now it is $240 because the only way you can get it is through going to certain conventions. One of them is happening right now. And
Gen
right
Con.
now. And
as of August 1st.
Yeah. And so they were running an event where I think if you play in the event, if you win the event, I don't remember, you play in the event.
So they're running events all weekend where if you play in the event, you get a Blaze rainbow foil. And they're also, if you spend $85 at any of their booths, either the LSS booth or the SCG booth, you get a Blaze for just spending $85. So if you just buy a box from SCG, you get a Blaze Firemind.
Yeah.
All the buy a box promos are like $5 to $20. Like, they're not anything crazy. So
in that sense, it's not worth $85 because you are also getting $85 worth of stuff.
Correct.
And it is also the market will be more flooded.
There's going to be much more supply this weekend than there was prior to this weekend, where there's only UK Games Expo, which means you also had to get it shipped from Europe or pick it up in Amsterdam or something like that. So now US is going to all have access to it. I'm pretty sure like all the events are sold out for Flesh and Blood at Gen Con. Like,
and I guess
technically, then it's just like you can just go to SCG, buy whatever singles you're missing from Mistvale, and you just get a Blaze. And then you can also just sell the Blaze to pay for the cards you're getting. Like,
or sell the cards you got.
Or sell the cards you got.
If the focus is Blaze.
You can just go buy a Command and Conquer, get the Blaze, sell the Command and Conquer.
Yeah. So people are wondering, like it's there are ways to get your hands on it. And so it's not like impossible to get your hands on, but the event that's going on right now is sold out. And so they had to be like, I don't think this was originally planned that you spend a certain amount and get a Blaze.
I only heard about that this week.
I don't think that was originally planned. I think it sold out and they were like, frick.
Yeah.
Which is something, obviously, it happens once and then you are planned for it for next time. Or maybe it's something they might have expected and they had a backup plan if needed, but didn't want to roll it out.
Sure.
I don't know. Blaze is very expensive, and I understand the concept of, like, it feels bad that this integral game piece, if you want to play this kind of way, is that expensive. But I mean, CNC is that expensive. CNC is more expensive. Should be more expensive if the price goes down to what we expect the price of the card to be.
So, one, CNC is more expensive. Two, I don't think people will let you proxy your CNCs at skirmish. I think people will let you proxy Blaze. Even though they're like not supposed to, it's against the rules, all that. Like,
I feel like some stores will. I think some stores, especially
some stores
that
will, some stores might not. But like, if the only way to get Blaze and you just want to play it, I don't care. Like, there isn't a non-foil version. If there was a non-foil version of it, sure. But there's not a non-foil version of it yet. So, like, I'm not going to...
It's interesting.
Like, I'm not going to care.
And there will be more after skirmish season, obviously, because people are going to get their hands on winning.
There's going to be a few hundred more.
Yeah.
But those are going to be even more expensive because those are cold foil.
Oh, are these rainbow foil that they're getting at the event?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they are. Holy cow.
But like I don't know. They could have rolled her out better. Yeah. I don't know.
Another quick topic I wanted to bring up was
don't spend 250 on a blaze, please.
Don't spend that kind of money on a blaze.
It's just don't.
There's other decks to play. There's no other wizards right now, is there? But
there are no other wizards currently in. Well, there's Warrior, Wizard, Emperor, but there's no other wizard. But like, please don't spend 250. You can. I guarantee you know people at Gen Con who can get it to you for way less than that at the very least. If you're that desperate for it. Have somebody pick up an order from SCG for just a box of Mistveil or something.
Yeah. The other take I had was, I think I'd said this once before, and it might not have been on the show, but just like on Twitter or something. But I've backed up on it, especially after the Pro Tour. This is a post Pro Tour take. Zen's not tier 0. No. Pretty quick to jump on that one.
He is tier 1. He is pretty much the top of tier 1. Yes, Tommy, you get a Rainbow Foil Blaze if you spend 85 on merch at the LSS booth or at the SCG booth at Gen Con. Zen is not tier 0. He is definitely beatable. Prism is very solid or is totally fine into him. The assassins are very good into him, as we saw.
Yes.
We saw assassins kind of just.
You need a kind of
apart.
Healthy amount of disruption, though. Like,
yes, you do 100%.
Like, it almost
but
feels
he's also
like
way more vulnerable to disruption because he's not just loading his graveyard with 3 block combo pieces in bonds now that he doesn't have 9 of them.
It might be a take that I'm just not a good enough player, which is completely reasonable. I am not a professional player. Disclaimer. It almost feels like Victor doesn't have enough meaningful disruption, or his disruption isn't. But reaction speed disruption is insane. Because what's Zen going to do about it? Pummels. Yeah, but like New and Azuri. Yeah, he only has 3. I guess you could run the blues, but at that point you're running the blues. But like, I don't know. It's certain
New
ones.
And Azuri have significantly more, and that's why they can do the things they do. Mm-hmm. That's why Azuri won the PT. Like, is because they get to just kind of slowly take apart the Zen, and that's just it. So,
is there any other decks that really do that? Is it just the assassins?
In that manner, yes. Prism does it on a different angle where it's like Arclight Sentinel is a hell of a thing, Shariah is a hell of a thing. If I get 2 turns of Shariah, you're kind of just dead.
Yeah.
If I like Parable is a very good card against Zen. Like, very good card against Zen. It makes for some very
Azalea. I forgot about Azalea. Azalea can if everything lines up right.
Azalea is much more likely to miss than the assassins are.
That is also true. The assassins are just more consistent.
Red Ledger is for sure disruptive. Remorseless is very high value. Most Zens will not care about Remorseless, and they'll say, yeah, you can have 6 damage on this. I don't care. If I'm taking 6 damage on it, I probably am dealing half your health.
Yeah.
Through blocks.
Literally need like physical. It's like
you need to take cards out of his hand.
It's like the problem with billionaires and fines. You know, like you know, you got enough money.
It's relative.
You can just pay the fine. You need to be physically stopped with jail time. And also this kind of brings up, I haven't said it on here, but I really love this, and so I keep repeating it. But I have a coworker who is wildly into Magic the Gathering. He is fully into the game, 100%. I've got him to play Flesh and Blood. He thinks the game's great, but he's so invested in Magic he can't tear away from that. That's understandable. But
sure,
the one thing he repeated that he loves about Flesh and Blood is if you hate a deck, like if you're pissed about Zen, you can just play it and it'll go away. If you just win with it, it goes away faster. And I love that mindset. It's so genius.
You don't have to rely on them banning Nadu for it to go away.
Yeah.
It will just go away.
So freaking funny.
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, do you want to pull in a caller?
Yep.
Awesome.
I'll go grab him.
At this moment, I'd like to shout out SirSmurphington. It's a little cut off. SirSmurphington for 5 months at a tier 1 subscription. I really appreciate that. He knows. But I wanted to give it a shout out. If you want to join us on here with your takes, you can join our Discord by clicking on the link in the description and join the waiting room channel. And we'll put you on after you give us a topic and we get a mic check. We'll pull you on air and we'll be talking with you about takes like we're talking with this caller. Caller, what's your name and what are you talking about? Or what? Wait, where are you from? What's your name and where are you from? Frick!
What's going on? Long-time listener, first-time caller. I am Tommy Fresh, calling from the beautiful state of New Jersey. What's up, K-Dog? What's up, Big Willie style? I'm happy to be on the show.
I love that. Thank you so much. And what would you like to talk about on the show today?
Listen, I'm feeling a little bit rambunctious. Anytime there's a pro tour, I get a little crazy. I get a little wild with my deck building. I get hyped up. I just I want to brew, And I've been throwing a deck that I love, or I throw a lot of matches. I'll be honest. A card I love is Codex of Inertia, right? But the problem with Codex of Inertia is the variance that comes with throwing off the top.
Yeah.
So, I was building an Arachne deck, and Kevin, you mentioned that I'm such a Riptide main, but I started playing Yellow Fates in Arachne because I was playing a lot of traps. So I am a Riptide main, but I was playing a lot of traps.
No, I'm listening. I'm following.
It was getting a little crazy.
Yeah.
But Yellow Fate, right? You set up a Yellow Fate into a Codex of Inertia. It just feels so awesome. And it got me thinking, right? The effect on Fate Foreseen and Sink Below obviously is so good on a 0-for-4. Well, why isn't it, good enough on just a 3-block, right? That, pitches for 2 resources. We always talk about blue block 3s. Let's talk about some yellow block 3s at reaction speed with an effect that smooths out your deck. I mean, that's just, I don't know. That's my hot take. I think we should be looking at those cards more. I mean, I think as the game grows, the deck building's got to get crazier.
We'll get to that in a second. Don't bring that one up yet. But the Codex of Inertia reads, each hero puts the top card of their deck face down into their arsenal, and each hero that does discards a card. Create a Ponder token, create an Inertia token, yada yada. That's actually really interesting with Fate Foreseen. But it's also a really niche mechanic. You have to have, it's got to line up pretty well for a small payoff. But
listen,
but what I was gonna say is in Arcane Rising, no one. Okay, I'm the only one on Earth, I believe, that's actually drafted Arcane Rising, four times. And
that's very true.
Yes, and I'm especially in North America, and so and then I've also drafted a lot of Welcome to Wraith, and I will say those yellow defense reactions are actually bombs. Yellow Sink Below could be a pack 1 pick 1, or at least a pack 2 pick 1. So listen, I can completely.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I understand the Codex thing is a little bit. It's a game of inches, and any little thing you can get.
Oh no, that's fair. Yeah,
is pretty cool. It was something that I already been doing with what the heck is it called? Skullbone Crosswrap and Riptide, because it's you're already loading, you can just get something for free, or not free, but you get a free opt, and then you can Codex of Inertia, and you're just like, oh man, this is the best deck ever. And then you play against Victor or something, and then you're just like, well,
it was my best deck ever.
But I just wanted to get on here and just say, listen, it's more of an example of let's start exploring the different colors of these cards and seeing if we can't, you know, uh, make cooler, more exciting decks that also happen to be pretty good.
Like, what about mono yellow Bolton?
I mean,
Well, I mean,
language
that
Just
would
a thing, right?
right. That sounds great.
That's just a thing now with the new chess piece, where
Yeah.
all of your yellows cost one less. Like,
Yeah. Now your sink belows cost one less.
what a joy! Well,
oh
hey,
boy,
listen, I was about to say maybe it would work with frostbites, but I guess like they would already tax the activation of the chess piece. Whatever, we'll get there.
I'm surprised you said that word.
What, frostbites?
Yeah, you spoke it into existence right now.
Listen, a broken token. Pretty fun to say. Broken token.
Broken token.
I think, when we see the return of ice, this is another hot take. Return of ice, we're going to get a fixed frostbite. It's probably going to do something a little bit more along the lines of hamstring shot, right? Not anything getting activated,
I
but
can see that.
More so something specific, or maybe different versions of frostbites. That'd be cool.
Frost
Maybe,
nibble.
'cause
I don't know. I'm not the game designer. All right. Wait, no, I want to move into what Kevin's got in his hands right now that he's been pondering over.
So Enigma is running a card right now sometimes. Nice little blue sink belows.
I love it.
They only block for 2.
But there's a lot more going on there. You can
transcend. Yeah.
You can fix your hand.
You play the sink below and you respond with the transcend. And then you get to bottom the chi and get a real card.
That's so cool.
Oh, frick. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking of like something like stupid because I'm on Victor High Roll brain right now. So I'm like, you play Sink to get rid of a card, and then whoa, you found the chi off the top of the deck, and then you transcend. But actually just getting rid of the chi card for a quality block
you can
is
just ditch the chi
too.
card, and then you're like,
and then you draw another chi card, and then you transcend again.
Yeah. Like it's I mean, like these were like actually played, and these were in the nationals lists for Enigma. Like,
I mean, it's essentially
they suddenly had way more value.
It's essentially just Crown of Providence.
Sort of, yeah.
When I had Crown of Providence, when I didn't have Crown of Providence, but I was playing some UPF games, I had a blue sink below as my headpiece. As my proxy headpiece.
You can't sink your arsenal, but yeah.
True.
No,
my wish.com Crown of Providence didn't sink my arsenal. That was the drawback.
That's fair.
What other cards are good in other colors that we're not exploring or aren't mainstream enough yet?
I mean, it's always come down to there's an effect on the card that is worth the value trade-off.
Yes.
Like the biggest thing for that is like ignoring Prism and Bolton because they're outliers with yellows and light cards. Like it was Seeds of Agony runs in Rainbow, Bonds of Ancestry runs in Rainbow because they're just insane cards. They work insanely well with your deck. It doesn't matter what color it's in. Like the first time we were looking at Zen stuff and people are trying to make lists, or like, well, what if we just made a list without Bonds? I'm like, Bonds is just the best thing Ninja can do.
Yeah.
Like that effect is just insane. The blue is just a 0 for 6 with Go Again.
If you want to not play Bonds, we can play UPF. Like you can play your for fun decks there.
Yeah. Like Aether Ice Vein, you ran in Rainbow because the effect was that good that you didn't care. The yellows were just extra reds. Like that's primarily what it comes down to, is like the effect on the card has to outweigh the importance of that number change.
So Tommy, the best use, what I'm hearing here is the best use case for yellow sink below is Oldham.
I mean, well,
gross.
Sure.
Stop.
Listen, I think
Does he use it better than Riptide?
Wait. Does it trigger it triggers a reload, right?
It does.
It does.
It's interesting.
That's interesting.
So I think we're going to enter a world where new might be, is right, tier 1, right? New's certainly tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
Blues,
yeah, I'd say so.
Blues, giving them your blues is a tough thing to kind of swallow
It is.
sometimes in a lot of decks. So what's the next thing you look at? You look at yellows, right? And you go like, can my cost curve do well with yellows? And
yellows, yeah.
And if it does, right? I mean, yellows are better cards anyway, right? Than a blue.
Better when
if
played.
you don't need the extra resource.
Yeah.
So
as long as your resource curve works. I mean, we saw that with Brody and his Azalea list going to, I believe it was LA, where he had 3 blues in the entire deck, and it was just the 3 knocks.
It is kind of hard for me to listen to this, me and the rest of the
Guardian
Michael Hamilton sibs, where we're just like, but if you just pitched, if I had one more resource, if I had one more resource, you know how much you could do with an entire resource.
Just wait every 3 turns with your tunic. I mean, easy.
Frick. But I do think it is interesting, the concept of like, I really loved looking at the concept just from the sense of like making a deck as efficient, or not efficient. What's the word I'm looking for? Like streamlined as possible, right? Efficient. Like the armory decks where they are just like focused, like they are just they are like laser focused on what they want to do. Like the Bolton deck had
30 yellows, 30 reds.
Exactly. Yeah. So it just was so focused that you almost like there's definitely hands where you wish you had a blue, but like in most cases, cost curve works out where you just need a yellow or 2. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Bolton, but like the I think that's like super cool in the sense where you're just like, okay, I've raised the floor up on what my resource cards are. They're now yellows. And I think that is really interesting. Yellow Sync Blow, though. You might be giving me bad ideas for my Victor deck, but go ahead.
I mean, I'm all for it. Listen, I just want to put it out there into the universe. I felt like this was a good place to do it.
Heck yeah.
And I don't know, it just feels kind of good. Like obviously it feels great to like play a red Sync or a red Fate, right? It feels good every time.
But it never feels good to pitch it.
Never feels good to pitch it. Exactly. And if it was feeling good in Arachne, especially because I was like, well, this is going to be a dagger instead this turn, and later in the game it's going to be a nice little block 3 with a bonus.
So currently it is 1 damage, and later it's a block 3.
Yeah. Why not?
It makes my like toes curl up thinking about it.
It's the same amount of value, right? As the red in a way.
It's 4 value for 1 card from deck.
Yeah.
You know what? When you say it that way,
we're just like in a way.
Yeah.
When you shift your blues to the yellows, if you can do it, you are making your deck stronger.
Maybe I shift all. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, you just make your deck stronger at the cost of not having the resources.
What if you? What if you do it the other way, where you shift your entire deck down to blue, and then I can pitch a blue to Anathos, and then later block for 2 with it. That's 6 value off of 1 card.
That's true.
But if it's a blue block 3, it's 7.
Oh, frick! Oh my gosh!
Listen,
this is actually a really interesting. Like we have another like topic, or Kevin's got a hot take, and it's a really funnily interesting segue almost into that topic, which I think is
Okay. I think I know which one you're saying, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, Tommy, thank you so much for the call.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, man. Anything you want to shout out? Like our Patreon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Table Pit Patreon is, well, it's the number one. I always look at it. One day I'll subscribe. I've been meaning to, and that's what counts. And it is a wonderful place. I think you should also support these wonderful people. And other than that, check out Fresh and Buds. Elaine was on this week. Brian
And?
Gottlieb next week.
Yes. Oh, that's going to be exciting. I have a take that I'm very biased. I want to hear, or a question that I want to hear him answer. But there was also like 100 other questions that also sounded better. So
it's going to be a tall order for the listener questions. That's why I tried to be like, give me one banger of a question so I could try to like make it. And then of course, much love to all the buds in the Buds Discord, but we have this one Sigma. He's
Sigma.
the best.
Sigma gives me my takes because he puts 4 in.
Yeah, I was like, one question. Sigma's like, here's 4. And I'm like, all right, thanks. I'll read them, I guess, and we'll see.
Yeah, I love that because I'm just like, I'll take Sigma's question number 2 for him. I'll champion that one or whatever.
It is nice when you do that. I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I get to make everybody happy. But
yeah,
thank you guys. I'm gonna hop off. See you later.
Thank you so much for the call. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
All right. So, value okay, so what we're talking about here is is a bipedal robot that you move from one direction to another on. Kind of like a bicycle. It's a Segway. So,
okay.
anyways,
Go.
No, I'm going to have you go, actually, because these are a little more your takes than they are mine.
Sure.
Throw a take at me. We can start with whatever one you say out loud.
Okay, so from the list that we have.
Yes.
So what, team testing?
Sure.
So I think...
I have it written down here in real short that the take would be something like, teams create echo chambers. Circular testing.
Yeah, so like you're testing just kind of... When you have a testing group that is... self-contained isn't quite the right word, but like where these are the people you talk to primarily, and they're like the only ones.
It's like a closed.
They're like
group
90% of the people of the conversations you have about the game are with these people. You're gonna end up with echo chambers because
of a lot of reasons.
Because of a lot of reasons, but like the people that you're gonna work with the most and you're gonna talk with the most are the people that you agree with. And you work with them because you agree with them, not the other way around.
Which is actually interesting because you'll agree with them in like one or two respects. Either you just share general same opinions on how the game works, or you play a bunch of games together and somebody wins more than the others, and then it's just almost like their knowledge or direction of the game leads the conversation at that point.
Yes, you'll have people in these testing groups where this is the person who plays Prism, this is the person who plays Enigma, this is the person who plays Zen, and it's their ideas that set the direction for everyone else. I think Runaways literally talked about this on their podcast today, where Lucas was the spearhead for Azalea going into PT, and they had like half the team on Azalea, and they just started slowly dropping off until even Lucas was like, nope, this ain't it. But it was all Lucas's ideas that like led them towards Azalea at first. And then they got convinced by themselves and other people that Zen was a better pick, which, yeah, he was. But like you end up with echo chambers, and it's weird because then you can get trapped in these kind of self-fulfilling ideas where if deck A beats deck B because of this, and this, but because you're in a circle and those like three ideas that support it, the matchup going that way, are like kind of self-fulfilling and there's nothing to break them, but there is an idea that breaks that, but you can't see it because you're stuck in your little circle,
Yeah.
you're gonna end up with the wrong ideas, you're gonna end up at the wrong conclusions about what is actually happening. And this is something that like we've seen a little bit of a push recently in the last couple of months for people to like test with other people more, to work with other people more, and not to be as like contained in their groups. Because the game is still young enough that I think people don't really understand it yet. It's not like in the same way. There's not as innate an understanding of the game.
There's so much to break down there, right? So we'll start with like let me even write some of that down, right? So the concept of metas, like understanding the game, I'll get to in a second.
Yes.
But like
that's another thing.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? So like the concept of echo chambers, circular testing, this is not new to Flesh and Blood. This is a competition thing everywhere.
Yes. Any competition,
right? So like I think I first heard about concepts such as that when I was listening to like pro esports. Right, you'd have these teams. They'd go to large events, and then they'd like the top teams, like the top 4 teams, would all want to play against each other leading up to the event, and they get an idea of what the meta is. And then like the mid teams play against each other, the bottom teams play against each other. They all have different opinions, and then when you see them play against each other, you're like, frick, these top teams had it figured out. Or, oh my gosh, this mid team found something that was broken and no one else did. And it's...
Or North America takes their meta to an international event, EU takes theirs, Korea takes theirs, China takes theirs.
And then Korea wins.
Completely different. And yeah, Korea's usually right. Or China's like taking 30 or 40% off of them. Yeah.
It's like Korea's correct, but China played so fast that no one else can catch up to them.
Yes.
I love that. At least in a lot of esports. This definitely parallels to Flesh and Blood, where and even on smaller scales, right? So like you play with your locals, local metas develop, and local metas will develop in testing as you're leading up to big events as well, right?
Yes.
You have Michael Hamilton. This is complete hypothetical, right? You have, and just because I'm a big Michael Hamilton guy, you have Michael Hamilton on your team, and then the entire meta is dictated around where the tempo deck is located in the meta, almost.
That was Wolfpack at Worlds.
True.
That's how they ended up on Bravo.
Oh, they did. They played Bravo. They played Bravo
with Yellow Debilitate.
Based. I kind of love that, but that's just me being me, not me being like actually analytical about this. So like, it's
which like it is when I heard that like they went Yellow Debilitate, I'm like, Debilitate is in there because of Hamilton.
Yes.
And Mara's like, yes.
It's
a Tunic 2-card 10.
Yes. Yellow 2-card 8.
9. Yellow.
9 math.
Red is 10.
-1.
Yes.
So,
but like that's what happens. They went through all of that testing, and I think they didn't have anyone on Icelander. And Icelander was the number 1 most represented deck.
Which is
at Worlds.
That's Michael Hamilton's deck, right? So
it's the one I would argue he is the most well known for.
Yes. Well, I think it's the one he would say is his favorite.
I think he might say Oldham is his favorite.
Really? I swear I heard him podcast. I don't know. You know what? We'll have him on next week to ask him about that. I can't confirm that. So
but like that was the Wolfpack Bravo list for Worlds was a result of their kind of internal testing, where they kind of just missed Icelander, and Icelander has a decent Bravo matchup.
Really,
it's pretty good.
Yep.
So, like,
especially if they're running Yellow Debilitate.
Yeah. So like you end up with weird things that happen, like just like your kind of whole team can end up off on the wrong foot a little bit. And it's just because you end up with feedback loops internally.
So
and
this,
you don't
yeah.
If you don't talk to other people outside that group, you're gonna have problems. If you don't pay attention to other stuff, other events and stuff going on, you're gonna have problems. Like I know a lot of teams also somehow missed. Runaways didn't miss Hatchet Dory going into LA, but I know some other teams did.
Of course not. Of course they didn't.
But like if you just watch Battle Harden, whatever Italian Battle Harden there was the week before, you saw 2 Hatchet Dories in top 8.
Yep.
I had a proxied version of it with me at LA for
it's a real deck.
People to get testing. Yeah, it was a great deck for that meta.
It's really good.
But like we weren't testing it until we saw it at that Battle Harden. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, and I just did like the math on 2 hands. I'm like, that's a 2-card 12 if you have Tunic.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really good.
Better than Debilitate with Tunic. So
that's really good.
So I guess that's my pushback is, we're talking about
with agility, other one.
It causes
feedback loops.
It causes these feedback loops. But how else are you supposed to test if not in a group? Talishar? Like what's your solve to get around this? Is it
I mean, it's like you have to talk to other people.
Yeah, it's not that it can't be that teams is the problem. It's you need more than just teams.
Yes. You need to do more than just talk to your team. You like go play games on Talishar, even just spectate games on Talishar.
Which team was it that Blue Pitch played a
show match with
match against card guys? That should just be like weekly. Yeah, one.
Just go do scrims against another team.
Scrims! Oh, dude, scrims! That's the word I was looking for and I couldn't find. Dude.
Like, and you can show as much or as little as you want.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to show them everything you have if you want to play the
scrims.
Secrecy game. You also get less info if you're not willing to show them some level of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Which is why Flesh and Blood, as of recording, this is August 1st, 2024. We are moving to a franchise system. The top 10 teams.
Oh, God. Shut up. No. But like, you need to be willing to talk outside of your group because otherwise you're like, that is the most productive. Like, you don't have to take everything they say. Obviously, don't take everything they say as gospel. Don't take everything your team says as gospel.
But it's no different than like at the end of a game at the Pro Tour, and you're just like,
you just sit there and talk with the person about the game.
Yeah, you just talk about the game. What a turn! Yeah. This turn when I did this, what do you think? Should I have done something different? Or it's the same kind of things as you would do at a big tournament. But instead of waiting until the big tournament to have these really high intensity games, skirmishes or other ways of testing with people outside of your team is a good way to like sharpen your skills. And one thing that I really like to bring up, which is practicing being there in person, right? Like practicing playing the game straight, right? There's a lot of teams that practice just trying
to test games are super loose.
Yes.
And like they're like just fast and infinite takebacks and all that stuff. And
I think that's fine. That's a good thing, right? You're just trying to get as good as play as
you're trying to like
possible.
Test the idea as much as possible, but you also need to be practiced going into the event for sure. And like that is a good way to do that is doing it against another team.
Which pulls out manager William, where he's like, you need to have a food schedule, you need to have a sleeping schedule, you need to show up a week early, you need to be practicing Talishar games. You need to be playing for, I call them day one games, right? When you run into Fatigue Riptide at the Pro Tour, you need to be able to handle that. Easy. That should be an easy game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was. So,
I made some mistakes, but it was fine enough.
It happens. You can make some mistakes against that deck.
So like it's I don't know. And it leads to just people having like weird ideas as well that are just like very clearly just not like, as soon as they're put to the test in like one of these level of events, it's just immediately just like gone. Because like I think it was like going into LA after Prism had gotten her new weapon and heavy hitters, everyone thought that Prism Dromai was just still a slaughter in Dromai's favor. Except if you talk to just a couple of the Prism players who are like, I'm just favored in that matchup. And it's because
someone's right.
Someone's right. And the majority of the Dromai players hadn't played against good Prisms yet. And that like included me, where I hadn't played the matchup out enough. And as I thought about it a little bit more, because like I'd started to work on Prism, I was like, this doesn't necessarily seem as bad as I thought. You just play the game differently than people thought, where it's like you're not playing to the board, you're not playing to clear dragons. It's you do this and you can just set up ALS loop almost for free. Because like imagine if you could never block a Herald of Erudition, but you took 0 damage from it. Just a 2-card.
Wow.
2-card, draw 2, get a soul, search a figment, turn on Vestige.
Huh. It works on dragons. Good. It works on dragons. Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
And it clears the dragon at that point too.
Yes. And I remember in LA, I remember people being very adamant that it was just strictly Dromai favored. Prism couldn't set that up in time. They wouldn't find the pieces soon enough. And Prism LLing the first week of PQs, most of a lot more Dromai players were like, we're putting time snaps in our deck.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people didn't, and like I went into my first PQ and I sit down across from a Dromai player who's a very experienced illusionist player. I know he played OG Prism back in the day, and he's played Dromai since she came out. And he was like, it's fine, I'm not worried about loop. I have Chromai. And I'm like, you don't get the action point if you attack a Spectral Aura.
Oh,
like,
no.
You just
oh no.
Talk like you need to talk to other people. You need to be like if your goal,
it's no fault on him other than ignorance of not playing out that matchup, not understanding all of the nuances and stuff like that. Which brings to the point that we're to circle back to is an understanding of the meta a bit, right? So
understanding of the meta and just like the game.
Yeah.
Like not even the meta, because the meta is like artificial, quote unquote. It's the meta is the
it's like the
meta
the community as understanding of
So like the meta is the numerical representation of what we think the game, how we think the game is played out.
Write that down. Somebody clip that.
It is, because when I refer to meta, I'm referring to there were 90 Zen at PT Amsterdam. There were 72 new. There were 32 Enigma. There were 32 Prism. And that's the meta. And that is a reflection of our understanding of the game and the way matchups play out. 32 Enigma, most people would agree, shouldn't be on Enigma if the best deck is Zen.
True.
That's a miserable matchup. That's like 20-80. And you're doing that into 22% of the room?
Yeah.
You just lose 2 of your 8 CC games on average. And if you make day 2, it's even more than that.
Yeah, it's even more than that because it shot up.
I played 3 Zens on day 2.
There's 3 Zens in top 8. That's more than 20%, or however much you said.
It's 37.5. Like it's
there you go.
Like people look at that and it's like, well, then people will still just bring the decks they want to bring.
Yeah,
that's just it. That's flesh and blood.
That's
another
everything.
Characteristic of the game that you have to take into account.
Yes,
but like you have to. People's understanding of like the game and like the way it works is dependent on how much information they take in. And if you sit in an echo chamber, you're going to take in less information than other people.
Yeah.
You have to know what to do with the information. You have to be able to go into Purple Chat and be like, is any of this information useful? No. I'll come back tomorrow.
Yes.
And see if there's a grain of truth anywhere in here that I
play Talishar and you luck out on somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, like that can happen. I've lucked into playing Dagon White and Michael Fang on Talishar, and those are great games. Those are fantastic games.
And that's why you record the VOD and you go back over it and you're like, Frank.
and I try and talk to them for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes afterwards about like what happened. Or like you can just go through and watch people play. You can just spectate people.
There's so many top 8s you can just go through.
And also just go
VOD review.
Not even VOD review. Just go look at the deck lists. True. 2 minutes on each one. Just like 2 minutes, do a skim. Is there anything that you didn't expect to be there?
And why would it be there?
Dories. Yeah. There's a Kasai with sabers and there's a Kasai with hatchets.
There's an Azuri in top 8.
Okay. Yeah, there's an Azuri in top 8. There were 2 Azuri at PT Amsterdam. One won the event, and the other was top 32. That's a deck you should be looking at right now.
Eating news alive. Like him playing his top 8Ks, just absolutely just consuming the new. I think it was the semifinal match where he went like Infect, Justin Nick for the win.
Yeah.
That was so that's not why the deck is good and wins and matchup or whatever.
Yeah.
But that was awesome.
But like I guarantee every team is looking at Azuri right now, and even it's really interesting.
And they should have been looking at it earlier.
Maybe. Like they should have, because like Azuri got a lot of the same tools that New did. The only things that are different, like substantially different, are the 2 pieces of equipment, which matter. They do.
Yeah.
Common arms and common legs are actually just insane for that hero. Hilariously,
I love the direction of cheap or
it's great.
Common rare equipment being good. Like Betsy's hat. Betsy sucks, but her hat is even better than she is. So
her hat should have been a chess piece or something.
Her hat should have been her hero text, but
close. But like even on like the Runaways pod today, they're like, I don't know if you should be like playing Azuri because it's just like New just does it better. It's like it does it different.
Yeah.
It does it different. And they did say like it was a meta call.
Yeah.
Which it was, because it has pretty much a very similar matchup as New into Zen. Azuri into Zen is very similar.
It's different matchups.
Not entirely the same at all.
To the rest of the meta though.
Slightly
enough.
The Victor matchup is not quite as good, I think. Your Prism matchup is still pretty rough. Your Azalea matchup is totally serviceable. Your KO matchup is probably about the same as is maybe a touch worse than New has it, but not wildly so.
After teams have looked at both assassins,
the New matchup is good.
I was about to say after proper teams have looked at both both assassin matches, like the assassin mirror where they're playing against each other. Is it still Azuri favored, or is that just more catching people off guard for the most part?
I think it's at least some amount catching people off guard.
It's got to be close.
I don't think it's like wildly in one side's favor or another, because we did see Tarek beat Shoma in Swiss. Yeah. I don't think I could like point out massive differences between the games off the top of my head. I haven't watched. I'm working my way through top 8, and I'm gonna go rewatch some of these games because I need to like actually dive deeper. There's a billion choices in these assassin mirrors. They're insane.
Dude, the top 4 match of just the Zen mirror was also like insane, because Punkage was talking about all these different lines he could take, and then he just does something completely different, and everyone's
he does
like,
something
what
else.
The frick?
Yeah.
He activated the chess piece, and everyone was like, and then in hindsight, he didn't win the game, so it's like, was that the right call?
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting. I love that.
Yeah. But like even like the way you build your Zen deck is extremely dependent on who you test with.
True.
The differences in the Zen decks, I think we saw this best at Nats.
Okay.
Which, granted, 2 weeks after release, like 4 weeks after we have all the cards.
We're still figuring it out.
But like you saw some serious differences in the Zen decks in top 8.
Like full cat versus
like
Full
shifting
bonds.
winds on some of them. Some of them only have 3 bonds. Some of them had 9.
Yeah.
Like shifting winds is a crazy card when you have 9 bonds. If you just make 3 tigers and they are all now descendant gust waves, and you got to fetch a descendant gust wave, and you're just going to be like, million bonds. Thank you.
I think there was someone in top 8 who didn't bring. Was it the finalist who didn't bring Be Like Water, which I thought was interesting. I thought that was just an auto include. Which it is.
I don't think most of the decks
really
for Zen had Be Like Water. Yeah,
really. Okay, then I don't even know. It's just interesting. There's a lot of decisions you can make. Even
that's
on
actually an
everyone's
interesting choice, just because like the blue one, and then you transcend, and Kasaya gives you the resource for it. Like that's
interesting. Huh.
Okay.
Wow. But
yeah.
And then it's 1 damage, so it's like, do you block 1 damage? I mean, it's got
not blocking that, especially like if you also have needles, and they're like, I'm going to save cards to block needles, and then you're like, okay.
Getting off topic with like a really interesting combo.
Yeah, but like these are the kinds of things where it's like you end up in weird circular stuff. Like we didn't have a Zen list that we were really testing against because we didn't really find a Zen list that we were like happy with, and because people wanted to do more cat stuff and like weren't going the like major bonds route, and we weren't even close to Zephyr Needle.
Yeah,
like that wasn't happening.
Would you say you had somebody you were testing with it? Well, you were probably testing with Wyatt, right? Was he on?
Wyatt was doing some stuff on Zen, but he wasn't doing.
Well, I mean to say, like you had somebody who was like thinking about Ninja, right?
Yes, we had people who were working on Zen.
Okay,
but it honestly, that one hit the point where we were like, we're gonna let someone else figure this out, and then we're gonna take that list and maybe tweak it a little bit, but just so we have an idea.
Yeah.
And I think it like literally came down to the week before, because no Zens made top 8 of the Montreal event that was release weekend.
Yes.
And I think it was the next weekend we got some Zen stuff that we could actually test against.
That's really interesting, actually.
So I did not have a lot of Zen reps going in. I also worked a little bit with Brendan from the Richmond group.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually kind of cool.
Because he was on Zen. So I got some games into him, but like I didn't have the best Zen prep, and I didn't have the best Zen prep going into this one because I didn't have a ton of people that I was working with that were playing Zen and that wanted to play Zen.
Which is to circle back. It's interesting, right? So like you do want a testing group. Like that's like if especially if you're the armory champion in your local area and you want to take it to the next level. If you're me and don't live near Mara and want to take it to the next level, you need to assemble a team, whether it's online through the Runaways Discord's a good place.
Just start talking to people.
Just start talking to people. Have
literally just start talking
games and type to people, or just talk to people in Discords, like whatever.
Just DM people on Purple. Like, DM the people from Purple you actually like their ideas.
Yeah, talk to your locals. There might be some locals that are just as excited about it as you are.
Yeah,
talk to people, and getting a team together is a great way to start like consistently bouncing ideas off of people. You like mutually learn together, but then beyond that, you can't limit yourself to the team. There's some teams in the past that I'm thinking of that were known for their very closeted approach to the game, which is very strong when the game was brand new and there was 2 or 3 sets. But now that we're this far into the game, there's a lot going on
to this game.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Betsy's going to be at Worlds. You never know what's going to happen.
Okay,
you better have a Betsy list for me. I can't say it with this.
Nope, you sure can.
Betsy will be there one day.
I'm going to goldfish all of my testing.
Someone's going
to be all Acilio.
Oh, man. It's like
I don't need interaction for that.
Yeah, Acilio is going to be so interesting. I could see Verdance being a problem really fast or doing nothing.
It
Lightning
really
Runeblade just
feels like
sounds
it's
like
one or the
Runeblade.
other. Yeah, Lightning Runeblade is just going to be Runeblade, who is slightly less dependent on non-attacks, is what it looks like.
Which is
Rather
interesting.
than half the deck, she's going to be somewhere a quarter to a third.
Depending on the cards, obviously, but yeah, absolutely. Yes. Also, an interesting amount of arcane. Like, we did see that fake sap.
Yeah.
That's 3 on one card, and we've only seen that one other time for Runeblades, if you don't count Sonata. And yeah. Earth is interesting. I feel like that one's going to be more like Briar, what everyone's,
Yeah, it's going to be Go Tall Briar.
And this is an example about how the game is developed enough to where we can see things ahead of time and just be like, I recognize this. I've seen this before. There's patterns which are not set in stone and are going to be different, and they're going to throw curveballs at us, right? So, like, an example being like new Prism comes out, and we're like, okay, we know some patterns from the old Prism. But this one just plays differently, and it's not as oppressive as the last one. So you have to think about it differently, right?
None of those patterns apply.
Well, it's also
the OG patterns apply, because I specifically remember watching some of the early, not early Prism, but post Heavy Hitters Prism, like some of the first gameplays that came out, and the play patterns that occurred, and watching it with Mara, who played OG Prism, and it's like, you play Soul Shield, it goes to Soul, Vestige, it goes live, and you just play Genesis off a light blue, and it's free. And it's like, that's the line in OG Prism. But in this Prism, it's just like, you're just going to block with that light blue, you're going to block with the Soul Shield, you're going to Arsenal Genesis, and you're going to pass.
It's really interesting.
You just play that Genesis, it's just actually actively bad. But if you make that play with Soul Shield and a Merciful, it can often be correct. But it's because all the play patterns changed.
And that's a product of, how the hero is different and how the hero works, but it's also a product of how the meta is different and the heroes work.
How many sets have come out between Monarch and Heavy Hitters?
Between Monarch and
7?
Heavy Hitters?
7
1,
sets.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I don't know. I just counted to 7 and pretended I was paying attention.
It's a completely different game since OG Prism came out.
No, and it's great. And in that sense, we can see the new heroes and we can anticipate stuff like that, and it makes we just have a better understanding of the game now. But it's not a perfect understanding. We recognize the patterns in how the heroes fit into the game.
The game is growing faster than our understanding of it is.
That's so because what is insane to me is this is why I'll probably forever just if Michael Hamilton quits Flesh and Blood to play the superhero game thing or whatever it is, he'll forever be the biggest brain. I'm going to be a boomer about it for the rest of my life, because I've been playing Flesh and Blood for a year plus, and I was slowly getting my grasp on the game, and I felt like I was starting to understand, synergies and deck archetypes, and I was building a concept of what a meta looks like and what because it was a different kind of game than I ever understood. And then he drops on you He drops the simplest thing, which is value, and he defines it, which is something that people had been trying to grasp for a while.
They'd been on the edge of it.
Yeah.
But they'd never done it, and it's because the game up to that point was sufficiently nonlinear.
Yes.
That you couldn't use that.
Chain.
Where it was Chain
Prism.
had to play all of his hands with imperfect information because he didn't know what he was banishing. For most of the game, he didn't know what he was banishing.
Yes.
Prism, everything is nonlinear because Spectra and permanents and auras. And then Starvo is just Starvo who said bonk.
Yeah. And in even older times, the olden days before even the game was so young, people were just trying to figure out if they swing with the reds or they swing with the blues, right? Like it was value wasn't fully on grasp there. People were still trying to think of it as like, I need to find something that breaks the game, right? Or find the most aggro thing.
They wanted silver bullets, like magic logic. They didn't understand why it would be a silver bullet.
Yes. And so when Michael Hamilton dropped that bomb, it changed it changed the game at a time when I didn't think the game could change, or I thought I was at the cusp of getting it. And what it actually showed, by being, in my opinion, by being so simple as it is, what it actually showed is that we have just barely peeked our head into the abyss that is the game. And at this point, we're like leaning in and we're thinking about jumping in, is what the game feels like. Like, I think it's still going to be like another 3 or 4 years before the best players are like, I think I understand exactly what a meta looks like or should look like and what to expect in every corner.
Yeah.
And also, it'll be even more years after that before it's a general understanding. Like, Magic literally just has a simple Wikipedia article that like explains the concepts of like all of meta, and it's like one of the first things that you could pick up now. It's like math, where it's just like, you know, you learn. People started learning these little concepts, and then nowadays kids are learning these stuff that at one point was like some of the most ingenious things ever. I'm picking it up in the 4th grade, and this is just something I'm expected to know, right?
And it's really, I think it was, I'm going to reference Runaways podcast again, because Cody Williams does have a very good mind for the game, and he has a great understanding of like the history of the game, because he's played more than one TCG, so he can like put all of it in a perspective. And he's like, there's been 2 major breakthroughs in the understanding of the game. One of which was Bullander, because like that literally just revolutionized the way people look at the game. And then the other was just like the actual appreciation of second cycle existing and what you need to do as a result, which was forced by Chain.
Yeah, I was about to say that was
it was before Bullander.
I was about to say that was definitely before Bullander. I don't want to credit any particular person with that, because I feel like it was mutual discovery by a few people. But it was actually just like a few people from what I have picked up. And it's like they were like, oh, depending on the deck I'm playing against, I win. Like if I'm playing against certain decks, I automatically win.
You can get pseudo-deterministic win states.
And at that point, they're like, "Oh, you know, we were joking about pitch stack and Welcome to Wraith, and now it's like, oh, I have
this is just
I have completed the pitch stack and I win the game.
I have done the thing." And we've seen that in the last like 3 months or 4 months with Kano, of just deterministic pitch stacks of through double Oasis, this kills you.
It like Majin Bay and them just being like,
Julian Sniffen is the Kano. He is the best pitch stack Kano in the world.
That's insane.
Hands down.
That's insane.
Yes.
Is he the one I've heard the story of with the who's the one I heard the story of the
Rags to sink below to the bottom against Hamilton?
Oh, it's so good.
That was him.
That was genuinely the most heartbreaking moment in Flesh and Blood for me, because it's like watching. It's not. It genuinely isn't. Because Michael Hamilton is definitely still playing, obviously, but like it felt like the crown fell in that moment where you're just like, oh frick, we have found a new understanding. Where
that's the next level.
It's the next level. It's holy frick. There's going to be players in a few years that I think in actually a couple of years we're going to be looking at professional players, and people will be looking at them like professional players and not necessarily like that guy at your armory. And he is a professional player because he has memorized your pitch stack and his pitch stack.
Yes. No, this is something Simon Nielsen, professional Magic player, said that is like one of the next big steps for Flesh and Blood is as a player having your pitch stack and your opponent's pitch stack memorized, and basically understanding as soon as you hit second cycle that the game is deterministic to a degree. Like, you reduce the game to like one or two choices by that
Can
point.
you imagine in like 5 to 7 years how much of a headache James White will have when it's the finals of Worlds and they get to second cycle, and as soon as they hit second cycle, one of the players knows it and he concedes because he has memorized both decks, and the other person knows it and he won. Yeah, both of the players know it because both of the players have memorized both of their pitch decks, and they shake hands as the second cycle appears, and then James White has a blood vessel burst on his forehead because he's like, it's too far. You've gone too far. It's not supposed to be that much. Like, it's supposed to be a lot, but it's not supposed to be that much.
That's going to be a reality.
That's why they got Brian Gottlieb in there. He's going to throw enough wrenches into the thing. He's going to be like,
this is why we put stir the pot in the game.
It's deterministic. If you win 2 clashes, but you specifically lose one of them, or something like that, just something insane.
I know I'm going to exactly lose the second part of the trounce here. No, this is why they put stir the pot in the game.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna put more shuffle effects.
Just shuffle.
They're gonna make the aggro decks have shuffle effects, and then because they don't care about it as much, and then that might handle it. I don't know. This game is so interesting, and
but like I think I'm not going to say we're like as a community we're bad at the game, but we still have a million things to learn about the game. We still have very imperfect understandings of the game.
Like is Da Vinci bad at math? No, but he's
extremely good for his time period.
Yes.
He's a genius for his time period.
Yes, but there might be some math concepts that I understand that he doesn't because we've just gotten to that point.
Oh, 100%. Like that's always like the perspective that you have to have with this kind of stuff. But like, we don't have a good understanding. And here, as a community, we have poor understandings of the game. And I know this to be true because you just look at like purple chat for any hero. Like almost I know that like instantly everyone understands what I mean.
Or like Reddit or something like that, where it's just like,
but like I just whenever I go into the Prism purple chat, I know that there is something we're missing about this hero. Because people still have zero consensus about certain things. And like there's slightly more consensus among the players who have better results. So like Vishra or Folks or some of the other players.
And with more linear decks too.
Yeah, like Ian Zhang and Rhea and those players. There's more consensus among them, but there's still not a consensus because we don't understand the deck. There's still something I think we're missing about the deck, which I think we're missing because we still have an imperfect understanding of the game.
It also is interesting,
and that's
because,
just like,
go ahead.
It's so clear that like we are missing something, and like you look at the top Enigma decks, you look at the Enigma deck that made top 8 of the Calling, and then the Enigma decks that did well in PT that made like top 32, and they're like all those lists are completely different because people still don't know what that deck is trying to do. Like, what is the best thing for that deck to do? And we don't know what the best thing for that deck is to do. What the best thing is for Enigma to be doing, because we don't understand the game well enough.
And it's
we went from heavy hitters, a very linear numerical format, and we could pretty clearly say what is the best thing for each of these heroes to be doing, and we saw it evolve very quickly for KO, for Dory, and Kasai.
Which is also interesting because all of these plans change based on the meta too, right? So like, that's one thing that I feel like a lot of people at like the low intermediate levels are missing out on is like there's not a card necessarily you're missing. It's that the deck is not put in its place well enough sometimes, right? Where it's like it slots in right here, so you have to add these cards in. Where some people are like, oh, this is the card we needed all along. And it's like, no, this is the card you needed right now for this. But that's not exactly what you're talking about. But
well, it was always interesting working with Mara on Dromai.
Yes.
because she had such a good fundamental understanding of the way that deck works and what it's trying to do.
Her maybe
that,
board
like-
had every card of the game in it.
Yeah, it was basically every legal draw my
Every
card.
legal draw my card was in the maybe board.
Like, she was very seriously considering bingo for the Pro Tour in LA. She had foil bingos with her.
I remember, I forgot what event it was for. Maybe it was like Orlando or something, where she was like, I got the winning strategy right here. And it was like hush hush. It was like literally the card was face down on the table and they tilted it up to me like a poker hand. And it was the one for no, it was, I think it was Thaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thaw.
Thaw was in the deck.
This
it
is
was real.
This is the spice. And it's like, ooh.
It was not for Orlando. It was for PQ season when Lexi was around.
I am losing track of history.
Yes.
As the days progress.
That was a card that I played in Dromai, and it won me games.
Wow.
Straight up.
It's so
straight
crazy.
up won me games. Like, it let me keep an entire full card to break a Frostbite and play an Asvali and swing my entire board instead of just swing a single dragon. Like, it was legitimately like 7 value.
Flesh and Blood is so
But, like,
interesting, and we are just at the
Yes.
cusp of understanding it in some cases.
And like the first time, it was so interesting because she pitched it to, like, she brought that idea to her Patreon, and all of her patrons was like, I'm kind of looking at this for like Lexi, and everyone's like, nah, it doesn't really do anything. It's not enough. But then, like, I see it and I'm like,
how about it work though?
you get all your Frostbites on their turn, so it works. It's not like Icelander where they give you the Frostbites in the middle of the turn and Thaw can't do anything. So this is just block 2, draw a card, because you're an all red deck. So
That's
a Frostbite is an
insane.
entire card. So Thaw is just block 2, Balance of Justice later, when you need it. Exactly when you need it.
Exactly when you need it. That's insane.
And that's so insane when you think when I put it in those terms, everyone's like, that's pretty darn
That's
good.
pretty good.
That seems pretty good.
That's
and I'm
pretty
like,
good.
yeah. And like, well, what if you don't ever have to thaw anything? It's like, I'm probably winning that game if they're
Yeah.
not gonna ice me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, but like that idea comes only from like the understanding of the deck, the way it functions, how it interacts with the rest of the meta, and like everything, because when heroes rotate, the game like resets.
It's so good.
And it's like, now we have to remake our understanding around New Prism, around Enigma. And it's like, I had a great understanding of the game with Icelander, and I could see like 3 turns into the future with Icelander. I could draw up a hand and be like, in 3 turns, I'm fucked.
I was expecting it the other way around, so it's really funny when you said it that way.
No, I had the other way where it's like, okay, so I'm doing this, yeah, and then if I just have like just 1 red card in my next hand, I'm killing you in 2 turns.
Yes.
Like that. But like, I'll have hands where I draw them and I'm like, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I think I had a game against a Victor and I was Prism, and by turn 2, I had 5 of my 11 light blues in my discard. Which is very bad when you're on a Vestige plan, because those are your pitch 4s. And I looked at that and I'm like, that's going to suck later.
Yes.
It sure did.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting,
It
right?
sure did.
We're talking about how difficult the game is, and I'm going to wrap it up with this, which is, it's not just difficult in the fact that the meta is really hard to understand. The heroes are really hard to understand.
Yes.
Constantly changing, evolving. We're learning new things about them constantly.
Yes.
Performance-wise,
people.
Performance-wise, the game is really hard. There's 100 triggers. There's thousands of cards. There's so many options you can do with each hand. And importantly, we haven't even gotten to the concept of fully memorizing both pitch stacks, which is just
that's
a
not
feat
even like
in of
realistic
itself.
at the moment.
At the moment, right? Like there's so many more things we could do in this game, and then watching it evolve over the next couple of years is going to be awesome. And I said that when I first started playing the game and was learning about it, watching this game over the next couple of years is going to be awesome. And it not only was true, but it was really funny at the time because we weren't sure if Flesh and Blood would make it to year 3. Look at us now.
It's going to keep
in
going.
the green. All right.
Like, I don't know. This game is fantastic, but like, just talk to them. Like, you get so much from just talking to other people and just going and doing research, like easy research,
playing games, watching games.
I had my friends better prepped for LA than some of the big teams were prepped for LA.
Yeah.
From 15 minutes of looking at battle hardened results. They just literally didn't look at the battle hardened results and see Hachidori and like think about it for 2 minutes. And I'm just like, it seems really good.
The reason people were terrified of Team Poland at PT3 was because
Baltimore? Pummel?
The reason they were terrified of them ahead of time, before we even knew what they were playing, was because they had a manager. And there was a lot of teams.
They had a manager and like a sports psychologist?
Yes. That was terrifying. There's literally like accounts of like players who were like struggling emotionally during some of their games, and they were working through it and becoming better players because of it. And that is the stuff you should be scared of. That's the stuff you should be looking for your edges, in my opinion. As unofficial player manager, William, I'm for hire. Kevin, do you have any? I think that about wraps it up. Shoutouts.
Bartosz made the finals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again?
Yes. And making the finals is insane. Holy frick.
Like, again. Engage with the game beyond your team.
Yeah.
Just that's it. Like that's all you need to do.
Start with the team, but then after that
stuff.
You gotta keep doing more.
Keep expanding. And even if you're not like talking to a ton of people, just like go see what people are playing.
What's the expression? It's like, if you want to be the best player, you don't put in as much effort as the best player. You have to put in more. They're already better than you. You have to put in more effort than the best players are doing. You have to catch up. Yep. I think that's it. That wraps it up. Kevin, shoutouts?
Okay. I think Tommy covered them.
Huh?
I think Tommy covered them.
Yeah. I will say that I am wearing a hat that will be available at some point. Webcam UPF. We're trying to build that back up. It went on hiatus for a bit while my foot went on hiatus for a bit. And frick. There's something else I was going to bring up. Oh, we got a game show I'm going to try to get out this weekend. It was crazy. Someone got ALS looped. Yeah.
Okay.
In a game show. And there was another thing, and I can't think of it. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.